Commander Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. His hands gripped the metal railing as alarms blared around him. The year was 2287 and humanity was losing the war. For 15 years, humans had fought against the Krill Empire. The Krill were insect-like creatures that wanted to destroy every human world. They had powerful weapons and millions of soldiers. Human colonies burned one by one. Entire star systems turned to ash. But humanity was not alone. 7 years ago, the Valoran Concordat had joined the fight. The Valorans were tall, elegant beings with silver skin and golden eyes. They brought advanced technology and powerful warships. Together, humans and Valorans pushed back against the Krill invasion. They shared supplies, traded knowledge, and bled together on 100 battlefields. Hyunwoo trusted the Valorans. His crew trusted them. All of humanity trusted them. That trust died today at the Arcturus Gate. The Arcturus Gate was the last major defense position protecting Earth and the inner colonies. If it fell, the Krill would reach humanity's home within weeks. 20,000 human ships gathered here, along with 15,000 Valoran vessels. Together, they faced 60,000 Krill bioships. The odds were bad, but not impossible. Not with the Valorans fighting beside them. The battle began at dawn. Krill ships swarmed forward like angry insects. Their organic weapons fired streams of acid and biomissiles that ate through metal. Human railguns fired back, punching holes in the enemy formations. Valoran energy shields protected the combined fleet, turning away the worst of the Krill assault. For 3 hours, the defense held. Hyunwoo barked orders to his crew, coordinating with other human commanders and their Valoran allies. Ships exploded on both sides. The void of space filled with debris and bodies, but the line held. Then everything changed. A message appeared on every human screen. Admiral Keshatar, the Valoran fleet commander, spoke with cold precision. The Valoran Concordat has reached an agreement with the Krill Empire. This war no longer serves our interests. We are withdrawing immediately. Hyunwoo stared at the message, unable to believe what he was seeing. Around him, his crew fell silent. Sir? His weapons officer asked quietly. What does that mean? Hyunwoo did not answer. He watched as every Valoran ship turned away from the battle. Their shields, which had protected human vessels for hours, vanished. Their weapons stopped firing. In perfect formation, the entire Valoran fleet retreated through their quantum jump points and disappeared. The Krill did not waste a second. Without Valoran shields, human ships were exposed. Bioacid tore through hull plating. Missiles found their targets. In the first hour after the betrayal, 17,000 human soldiers died. Hyunwoo's ship shook as a Krill weapon struck the port side. All ships retreat, he shouted into his communicator. Fall back to secondary positions. Move, move, move! But there were no secondary positions. The Arcturus Gate was the last line. Behind it lay only Earth and the core worlds. The human fleet scattered. Some ships tried to fight. Most tried to run. The Krill pursued them like predators chasing wounded prey. Hyunwoo watched ship after ship disappear from his sensors as they were destroyed. Across human space, Ambassador Da-Yun Choi received reports from the battlefield. She had been humanity's representative to the Valoran government, living on their capital world and working to strengthen the alliance. When news of the withdrawal reached her, she immediately demanded a meeting with the Valoran Council. They made her wait for 6 hours. When she finally entered the council chamber, the Valoran leaders would not meet her eyes. Why? Da-Yun asked simply. Why betray us now? The eldest counselor spoke. The Krill offered us favorable terms: territory, resources, and peace. Your war was costing us too much. We fought together for 7 years, Da-Yun said, her voice shaking. We saved your colony at Helios. We shared our medical technology when the plague struck your outer worlds. Yes, the counselor agreed, and we are grateful. But gratitude does not outweigh practical concerns. The Krill will win this war. We chose to be on the winning side. Da-Yun left the chamber and immediately began investigating. What she discovered made her sick. The Valorans had not just abandoned humanity, they had sold them out. Detailed maps of human defensive positions had been given to the Krill. Fleet movement schedules. Weaknesses in human ship designs, supply line routes. The alliance had been a lie from the start. The Valorans had been gathering intelligence, waiting for the right moment to strike a deal with humanity's enemies. But the worst discovery came from Captain Taeyang Lee and his Marines. Taeyang commanded the Steel Dragons, an elite unit that specialized in boarding actions and station assault. As the Arcturus gate fell, he led his troops in a desperate evacuation of the station's civilian personnel. While searching for survivors, his team found a sealed section of the station that had been under Valoran control. The doors were locked with Valoran security codes. Tae-Yang ordered his tech specialist to break through. Inside, they found a cargo bay filled with stasis pods, thousands of them stacked in neat rows. Each pod contained a human. Men, women, children, all frozen, all alive. "Sir," one of his Marines said, checking the pod labels, "these people are from the colony ship Horizon. That ship went missing 3 years ago. We thought it was destroyed by the Krill." Tae-Yang checked more pods. The colony ship New Dawn. The transport vessel Morning Star. 6 different ships all reported as lost. Nearly 10,000 people, preserved like specimens in a laboratory. He activated his communicator. "Command, this is Captain Lee. You need to see this immediately." The news spread through human channels within hours. The Valorans had not just betrayed humanity in war. They had been abducting human colonists for years, experiments trading, selling humans to other alien species like livestock. Humanity had never been an ally to the Valorans. Humanity had been merchandise. On her research station far beyond Neptune, Dr. Ji-Won Kim watched the disaster unfold. She was the chief scientist on Prometheus Station, a joint human-Valoran research facility. When the betrayal happened, the Valoran staff had tried to seize control of the station. Ji-Won and her team had been forced to fight them off. Now she stood in her lab, looking at a device that was supposed to have been destroyed years ago. Project Chains. A weapon so dangerous that Earth's government had ordered it dismantled when the Valoran alliance formed. But Ji-Won had never trusted the Valorans. She had kept the project alive in secret, knowing that one day humanity might need it. She composed a message and sent it through encrypted channels to Commander Hyun-woo. "I have something," the message said. "Something they do not know we built. But I need 48 hours. Can you hold them that long?" Hyun-woo read the message as his damaged ship limped away from Arcturus. Around him, the scattered remains of humanity's fleet regrouped. They were broken, bleeding, nearly defeated, but not dead yet. He sent back a single word: yes. The human fleet prepared for a fighting retreat. They would buy Ji-Won her 48 hours no matter the cost. The Krill pressed their advantage, sensing final victory. The Valorans watched from a safe distance, confident they had chosen correctly. None of them knew what was coming. None of them understood that humanity, when pushed to the edge, became something far more dangerous than anyone expected. The betrayal at Arcturus would change the galaxy forever. But first, humanity had to survive the next 2 days. Dr. Ji-Won Kim ran through the corridors of Prometheus Station, her breath coming in short gasps. Behind her, emergency lights flashed red. The station shook as another explosion rocked the outer hull. She reached the main laboratory and sealed the door behind her. Inside, Engineer Bo-Ra Shin was already at work, her fingers flying across the control panels. "How long until we can activate?" Ji-Won asked. 6 hours, Bo-Ra replied without looking up. "Maybe 5 if we skip the safety checks." "Skip them," Ji-Won said immediately. "We do not have 6 hours." Prometheus Station floated in the darkness beyond Neptune, hidden in the Kuiper Belt where few ships ever traveled. It had been a joint research facility, where humans and Valorans worked together on advanced technology. After the betrayal, the Valoran staff had tried to take control. Ji-Won and her team had fought them off, but barely. Now the Krill knew about the station. They were coming to destroy it. Lieutenant Jae Sung-han burst into the lab. "Doctor, the Krill Vanguard will be here in 4 hours. Captain Lee is setting up defensive positions, but we cannot hold them for long." Ji-Won nodded. "Tell Captain Lee he needs to hold for 5 hours." "No less," Jae-Sung hesitated. "Doctor, with respect, I do not think that is possible." "It has to be possible," Ji-Won said quietly. "Because if we fail here, humanity has no future." She turned to the massive device in the center of the lab. Project Chains looked like a sphere made of crystalline metal, covered in glowing symbols. It hummed with barely contained energy. Years ago, human scientists had discovered a way to manipulate quantum fields. Every advanced spaceship in the galaxy used quantum drives to travel faster than light. These drives worked by creating tiny tears in space itself. Project Chains could shut them all down at once. The weapon worked by creating a disruption field that spread across entire star systems. Any quantum drive caught in the field would simply stop working. Ships would be left drifting in space, unable to jump to faster speeds. But there was a problem. Humanity also used quantum drives. If they activated project chains, human ships would be affected too, except for one thing. Humans had built their fleet differently than other species. While the Valorans and Krill relied completely on quantum drives, humanity had kept their old fusion drives as backup systems. They were slower, more primitive, but they did not depend on quantum technology. Other species had mocked humanity for this. They called human ships slow and outdated. They laughed at the bulky fusion engines that took up so much space. No one was laughing now. Across human space, Commander Hyunwoo broadcast Ji-won's plan to every human ship. All vessels will position themselves in a relay network, he ordered. You will receive specific coordinates. You must hold those positions for 6 hours while Project Chains charges. One captain asked the obvious question. Sir, the Krill will tear us apart if we sit still for 6 hours. I know, Hyunwoo replied. But if we do not do this, they will tear us apart anyway. At least this way we take them with us. The human fleet moved into position. Thousands of ships spread across hundreds of star systems, each one taking its assigned coordinates. They switched their quantum drives to maximum output, turning each vessel into a relay node for the weapon. The Krill detected the energy buildup immediately. They sent everything they had to destroy the human positions. Ship-to-ship combat erupted across a dozen star systems at once. On Prometheus Station, Captain Taeyang Lee prepared his Marines for the defense. The Steel Dragons had fought on 100 battlefields, but this would be their hardest fight. How many are coming? One of his sergeants asked. Sensors show a Krill dreadnought, 6 battleships, and about 40 smaller vessels. Taeyang replied calmly. And we have 300 Marines, station defenses, and pure stubbornness. The sergeant laughed grimly. Those are terrible odds, sir. Yes, Taeyang agreed. But we have been in worse situations. That was a lie, but his Marines appreciated it anyway. The Krill arrived exactly on schedule. Their ships were massive organic creatures, grown rather than built. They fired living weapons that burrowed through metal and dissolved armor. The station's defensive guns opened fire, destroying 2 Krill battleships before they could get close. But the rest kept coming. The Krill dreadnought latched onto the station's outer ring. Cutting through the hull, Krill soldiers poured inside. They were insect-like warriors, each one standing 7 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and thick armor plating. Taeyang and his Marines met them in the corridors. Gunfire echoed through the metal passages. The Krill were strong and fast, but the Marines knew every corner of the station. They used traps, ambushes, and sheer determination to hold the line. Sector 7 is breached, someone shouted over the communication line. Fall back to Sector 6, Taeyang ordered. Seal the bulkheads behind you. In the lab, Ji-won worked frantically. The charging process was taking longer than expected. Small errors kept appearing in the calculations. Bora fixed each one as it came up, but they were running out of time. Dr. Yoon Kang, their xenobiology expert, ran into the lab carrying a data pad. I analyzed the Krill attack patterns, he said quickly. They are focusing on the station's power core. If they destroy it, Project Chains fails. Can we reroute power? Ji-won asked. Already done, Yoon replied. But it will only buy us 30 minutes. Ji-won checked her displays. They needed 40 minutes. She made a decision. Bora, increase the power flow by 20%. Bora turned pale. Doctor, that could cause a catastrophic overload. The Krill will definitely cause a catastrophic overload if we do not finish in time, Ji-won said. Do it. Outside the lab, the battle grew more desperate. The Marines were being pushed back corridor by corridor, casualties mounted. Medical supplies ran low, but they kept fighting. Taeyang stood at a crucial intersection, firing his rifle at the advancing Krill. A massive warrior broke through the line, its claws reaching for him. The captain dodged, barely avoiding being cut in half. One of his Marines threw a grenade. The explosion sent the Krill flying backward. How much longer? Taeyang shouted into his communicator. 10 minutes. Ji-won's voice crackled back. Taeyang looked at his remaining Marines. They were exhausted, wounded, and nearly out of ammunition. 10 minutes might as well be 10 hours. The Krill dreadnought broke through the station's outer defenses. It positioned itself directly above the laboratory section. preparing to tear through the hull and destroy Project Chains. "Captain," Ji-won said over the communication line, "you need to evacuate. The dreadnought is about to breach the lab section. I cannot protect the device and your Marines." Tae-yang made the call. "All personnel fall back to the escape pods." "That is an order." "Nobody moved, sir," his sergeant said quietly. "With respect, you can go to hell. We are the Steel Dragons. We finish what we start." Every Marine nodded in agreement. They would hold the line or die trying. Tae-yang felt pride surge through him. "Then let us make it count. For humanity. For humanity," his Marines shouted back. In the lab, Ji-won watched the final countdown. 5 minutes, 4, 3. The station shook as the Krill dreadnought began tearing through the outer hull. Alarms screamed. The air grew thin as hull breaches spread. 2 minutes. Bora's hands never left the controls, making tiny adjustments to keep the power flow stable. Yoon monitored the structural integrity, calling out warnings as the station began to break apart. 1 minute. The Krill reached the final corridor before the lab. Tae-yang and his remaining Marines stood in their path. There were only 40 Marines left now. They were the last barrier between the enemy and Project Chains. 30 seconds. The Krill charged. The Marines opened fire. Bodies fell on both sides. The corridor became a meat grinder. 10 seconds. A Krill warrior broke through, heading straight for the lab door. Tae-yang threw himself at the creature, tackling it to the ground. Its claws raked across his armor, tearing through the protective plating. 3, 2, 1. Ji-won pressed the activation button. Project Chains came alive. A pulse of quantum energy erupted from Prometheus Station, carried by the network of human ships positioned across the galaxy. The pulse traveled faster than light itself, spreading through the fabric of space. Every quantum drive in range simply stopped working. The Krill dreadnought went dark. Its weapons fell silent. Its movement ceased. All across human space, Krill ships drifted helplessly. Velaran vessels lost power. Ships from dozens of other species found themselves paralyzed. Only human ships, running on their old fusion drives, remained operational. On Prometheus Station, the attacking Krill suddenly realized their situation. Their dreadnought was dead. Their support ships could not maneuver. They were trapped, surrounded by enemies. Tae-yang pushed the dead Krill warrior off him and stood up slowly. Around him, his surviving Marines did the same. They looked at each other in amazement. They had survived. Against impossible odds, they had held long enough. Ji-won emerged from the lab, exhausted but smiling. "It worked," she said simply. Across the galaxy, humanity stood alone as the only species that could travel between stars. For years they had been mocked for their primitive technology. Now that same technology was their greatest advantage. The war had just changed completely, and humanity intended to make the most of it. 3 weeks had passed since Project Chains changed everything. Fleet Admiral Young-Soo Nam sat in his command center on Earth, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. Every screen showed the same story: paralyzed alien fleets, disabled stations, and desperate pleas for help. Humanity was the only species that could move between the stars. Every other civilization sat trapped, watching their life support systems slowly run out. Young-Soo felt no sympathy. He remembered the 17,000 who died at Arcturus. He remembered the frozen colonists found in Velaran cargo holds. He remembered 15 years of war and 7 years of betrayal disguised as friendship. "Send them the terms," he ordered. The terms were simple: submit to human authority, provide full access to technology and resources, accept human governance, or drift in space until your air runs out. There was no third option. Minister Soojin Park ran the newly formed Terran Reclamation Authority. Her job was to organize the systematic seizure of alien assets. She approached it with cold efficiency. "Start with military targets," she told her staff. "Every weapon, every defense platform, every warship. We secure those first. Then industrial facilities. Finally, the technology that made them powerful." Commander Haiwan Song led the boarding teams. She had trained for special operations her entire life, but nothing prepared her for this. Her teams moved from ship to ship, station to station, taking control of everything they found. The aliens could not resist. Their security systems relied on quantum technology. Their weapons needed power that quantum cores provided. Without them, they were helpless. Commander Hyun-woo led the operation to seize the Valoran homeworld. His fleet surrounded the planet while boarding teams secured every orbital station. The Valorans watched in horror as humans methodically took control of their defenses. The Valoran Prime Minister was brought before a human tribunal. She stood in chains, her golden eyes filled with fear. "This is barbaric," she protested. "We are a civilized people. You cannot treat us like criminals." Ambassador Da Yun Choi spoke for humanity. She had lived on the Valoran homeworld for years, believing in the alliance. The betrayal had hurt her more than most. "You kept human children in stasis pods," Daun said quietly. "You sold our people to other species. You gave our enemies the information they needed to kill us. And you call us barbaric?" The Prime Minister had no answer. "Your civilization will continue to exist," Daun continued, "but under human supervision. Your military is dissolved. Your weapons belong to us. Your technology will be shared freely, and you will spend the rest of your lives explaining to your children why this happened." Haywon's teams worked with brutal efficiency. They cataloged everything: Valoran gravity manipulation technology, enhanced shield generators, genetic engineering facilities, medical advances that could cure diseases humanity still struggled with. Everything was loaded onto human transport ships and sent back to Earth. Captain Minho Kwan coordinated the massive logistics operation. He had been a transport officer before the war, moving supplies between colonies. Now he moved entire planetary economies. "We need 300 more transport vessels for the Valoran sector," he reported, "and 500 for Krill space." "Build them," Youngsu ordered. "Strip parts from captured ships if you have to. I want everything of value brought to human space within 6 months." The Krill Empire tried to negotiate. They sent an emissary to Earth, a high-ranking war prince who spoke for their queen. "We can divide the galaxy between us," the emissary proposed. "Humans and Krill ruling together. We are both warrior species. We understand strength." General Tae-Yang Lee delivered humanity's response. He had been promoted after the defense of Prometheus Station. Now he commanded all human ground forces. Tae-Yang traveled to the disabled Krill flagship personally. He walked through corridors filled with starving Krill soldiers. They could not hunt, could not feed, could only wait and watch as their strength faded. In the strategy center, the war princes waited. They were massive creatures, even larger than normal Krill warriors. Their armor was black as space itself. Tae-Yang said nothing. He simply played a holographic recording, footage from the Battle of Arcturus, 17,000 voices screaming as they died, ships breaking apart, colonies burning under Krill bioweapons. He let the recording play for 10 minutes. Then he spoke. "You wanted war. You got it. Now here are the terms. Unconditional surrender. Your military will be dismantled. Your weapons will be seized. Your worlds will accept human oversight. Refuse and we leave you here. Your ships have 3 weeks of life support remaining. We have all the time in the world." The war princes refused. They called humanity weak. They said humans did not have the strength to follow through on such threats. Tae-Yang nodded and left. The human ships pulled back from Krill space. They left the disabled fleet floating in the darkness. 3 weeks later, Tae-Yang returned. The war princes were dead. The surviving Krill surrendered within minutes. The galaxy learned an important lesson. Humanity did not make empty threats. Over the next 6 months, the scale of the seizure became clear. Human ships seized 40,000 Valoran vessels, including their entire dreadnought fleet, 125,000 Krill bioships and their production facilities, complete technological databases from 17 major civilizations. Manufacturing facilities that could produce quantum drives were taken and reverse-engineered. Human scientists learned how to build them with control codes that only humans could access. Now humanity could use quantum technology without being vulnerable to it. Mining operations across 800 star systems came under human control. Genetic enhancement technologies, cybernetic augmentation systems, and medical advances centuries beyond human science were all cataloged and studied. Minho worked 18-hour days coordinating it all. His transport fleets carried treasures beyond imagination. Technology that would take humans centuries to develop on their own now filled research facilities across Earth and the colonies. Dr. Ji-Wan and engineer Bo-Ra led teams of scientists studying the sea's technology. They worked with researchers from dozens of human universities, combining alien knowledge with human innovation. The Valorans had gravity manipulation for 2 centuries, Ji-Wan said during one meeting, but they never thought to combine it with our plasma containment technology. Look what happens when we do. She showed them a weapon that made their old railguns look like toys. The scientists cheered. Human shipyards worked overtime. Captured vessels were retrofitted with fusion drives, creating hybrid ships that could operate with or without quantum technology. The new fleet was larger and more powerful than anything humanity had possessed before. But not everyone celebrated. Ambassador Da-Un confronted Admiral Young-Soo in his office one evening. "We are not liberators," she said bluntly. "We are conquerors. This is not justice. This is empire." Young-Soo poured 2 glasses of whiskey and offered her one. "Yes," he agreed. "We are building an empire, because the alternative is extinction." "There is always an alternative," Da-Un argued. "Is there?" Young-Soo asked. The Valorans had alternatives. They could have remained loyal. They could have negotiated honestly. Instead, they abducted our children and sold us out to our enemies. The Krill had alternatives. They could have left us alone. Instead, they tried to exterminate us. He took a drink and continued. "Every species in this galaxy is alive today because we chose to let them live. We could have turned off their life support and let them all die. We did not. We gave them a choice, submit or perish. Most chose to submit. That makes us conquerors, yes, but it also makes us merciful." "Mercy would be giving them their freedom back," Da-Un said. "Mercy is letting them keep their lives," Young-Soo replied. "Freedom is something they will have to earn. Just like trust. Just like respect." Da-Un left his office feeling troubled. She understood his logic. She even agreed with parts of it. But she worried about what humanity was becoming. The seizure continued. Human control spread across the galaxy like a tide. Worlds that had never seen a human ship now had human governors. Trade routes that had existed for millennia came under human regulation. The old order was swept away completely. Some species accepted the new reality quickly. They cooperated with human authorities, hoping for better treatment. Others resisted quietly, holding on to hope that somehow the situation would change. But nothing changed. Humanity's grip on the galaxy grew stronger every day. They had the weapons. They had the technology. Most importantly, they had the will to use both. Haywan completed another boarding operation, this time seizing a Valoran research station. Inside, she found more stasis pods, more humans who had been taken, families, children, people who had been missing for years. She looked at the pods and felt her resolve harden. Whatever doubts she might have had about the conquest vanished. These people deserved justice. Humanity deserved security. If that required an empire, then so be it. By the end of the 6 months, the transformation was complete. Humanity had seized everything of value from their former enemies and supposed allies. They had become the dominant power in the galaxy. The question was, what would they do with that power? Young-Soo knew that conquest was the easy part. Holding an empire together would be much harder. 5 years had passed since Project Chains changed the galaxy. Chancellor So-Yun Huang stood at the window of her office looking down at the streets of Geneva. Humans walked alongside Valorans. Krill merchants sold goods in the markets. Children of different species played together in the parks. It was not perfect. Tensions still existed. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight. But it was progress. So-Yun was the first elected leader of the Galactic Council. She was human. But her coalition government included representatives from 20 different species. She had won the election by promising fair treatment for all, while maintaining human security. It was a delicate balance. An alert interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant rushed into the office, his face pale. "Chancellor, we have a situation. The outer territories are reporting contact with an unknown force. Ships are disappearing. Entire colonies gone silent." So-Yun felt ice in her stomach. "Show me." The data was terrifying. Something was entering the galaxy from the galactic south. It moved from star system to star system, consuming everything in its path. Planets were stripped of resources. Populations vanished. Nothing remained but empty husks. "What is it?" she asked. "We call them the Devourers," her military advisor replied. "They appear to be machine intelligences. Ancient, powerful. They consume entire star systems for raw materials." So-Yun immediately convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 47 species gathered, their faces showing the same fear she felt. Admiral Sungmin Ro presented the military analysis. He commanded the integrated fleet, which mixed human and alien crews. The Devourers are advancing systematically. At their current rate, they will reach our core territories in 6 months. We estimate their total force at 10 million units. A Valoran counselor spoke up. Can we negotiate with them? We tried, Sungmin replied. They do not respond to any communication. They simply consume and move on. Admiral Thelmora, now the senior Valoran military officer, studied the data. We need to combine our technologies. Human quantum disruption, Valoran shield systems, and Krill bioweapons. Working separately, we cannot stop them. Together we might have a chance. War Prince Zikthak agreed. My people will fight. We owe humanity that much. More importantly, we owe ourselves survival. The council voted unanimously to form a combined defense force. For the first time, former enemies would fight side by side, not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. Captain Wu Jin-shin commanded the CSS Unity, the council's first fully integrated vessel. His crew included humans, Velerans, Krill, and members of a dozen other species. They had trained together for 3 years, learning to work as a single unit. Now they would face the ultimate test. The Unity was assigned to scout the Devourer fleet. Wu Jin took his ship deep into dangerous territory, gathering intelligence while staying hidden. What they found was worse than expected. The Devourers were not just machines. They were smart. They adapted to every tactic used against them. They learned from each encounter. We need to hit them with everything at once, Wu Jin reported back. Give them too many variables to adapt to simultaneously. General Taiyang prepared ground forces for planetary defense. He trained mixed species units, combining the strengths of each race. Human tactical flexibility, Valoran technology, Krill ferocity. One of his human sergeants asked, Sir, can we really trust them? Taiyang looked at the Krill and Valoran soldiers training alongside humans. 5 years ago, I would have said no. Today, watch them. They fight like we do. They bleed like we do. They fear like we do. Trust comes from shared sacrifice. We are about to share plenty of both. Dr. Jiwan and Dr. Yoon worked together in research facilities, combining their knowledge with alien scientists. They developed new weapons by merging different technological approaches. A Valoran scientist proposed an idea. If we combine our gravity manipulation with human quantum disruption, we can create localized black holes. They would consume the Devourer units completely. Jiwan built on that concept. And if we add Krill biological acids to destabilize their molecular structure first, the black holes will work even better. The Devourers reached the outer defense line 3 months later. The combined council fleet waited for them at the Helix Nebula. 60,000 ships from 47 different species, united under a single command structure. Admiral Sungmin stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the tactical display. Beside him stood Admiral Thelmora and War Prince Zikthak, now his trusted advisors. Remember, Sungmin said over the fleet-wide channel, we are not fighting for humanity. We are not fighting for the Velerans or the Krill. We are fighting for everyone, for the future. The Devourers emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 10 million machines, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. The battle began. Human ships used quantum disruption to disable Devourer targeting systems. Valoran vessels deployed shields to protect damaged allies. Krill bioships released acids that ate through machine armor. The integrated crews worked perfectly, each species covering the weaknesses of the others. The Unity fought in the thick of combat. Wu Jin's mixed crew operated with precision born from years of training together. When the ship's shields failed, the Valoran engineer rerouted power. When weapons overheated, the Krill gunner switched to biological backups. When navigation systems crashed, the human pilot flew manually. They saved each other's lives a dozen times in the first hour. The new combined weapons worked. Localized black holes consumed entire sections of the Devourer fleet. But the machines adapted quickly. They began targeting the weapon platform specifically. We need to protect the black hole generators, Sungmin ordered. All ships formed defensive screens around the weapon platforms. Thousands of ships moved to protect the crucial weapons. They took terrible damage doing so. Council vessels exploded by the dozens. Human, Valoran, and Krill crews died together, protecting technology they had built together. But they held the line. The battle lasted 18 hours. By the end, 3 million Devourer units were destroyed. The rest retreated, their advance stopped for the first time. The Council fleet had lost 12,000 ships. Every species had suffered casualties, but they had won. In the aftermath, something remarkable happened. A Krill war mother approached Admiral Sungmin and offered him her species' highest military honor. A Velaran child painted a mural showing humans and Valorans fighting side by side. Survivors from different species embraced in relief. The old hatreds had not disappeared, but they had faded, replaced by something stronger, shared purpose. Ambassador Hyunwoo, now retired but still influential, spoke at the memorial for the fallen. He was old now, his hair white, but his voice remained strong. We seized control of this galaxy through necessity and fear. We justified it as survival, and maybe it was. But survival alone is not enough. We built an empire in days. We spent years learning to build a civilization. He looked at the mixed crowd before him. Humans, Velarans, Krill, dozens of other species, all gathered to honor their shared dead. The species here today betrayed us, enslaved us, tried to exterminate us. We could have done the same. We chose differently, not because we are better, but because we remembered what it felt like to be powerless. Project Chains gave us control. The Galactic Council gave us legitimacy, but respect. That comes from actions, from sacrifice, from proving that power can be used justly. Humanity seized everything when they turned on us during war. Now we are learning to share it. Not from weakness, from wisdom. Professor Hyojin Moon finished her historical account of the Consolidation Wars that year. It became required reading in schools across Council space. She did not shy away from humanity's brutality. She did not excuse the betrayals that sparked it. The title was simple: The Chains That Bound Us. Dr. Jiwon and Engineer Bo-Ra finally deactivated Project Chains permanently. Not destroyed, but stored securely. Just in case, Jiwon said. Trust but prepare? Bo-Ra asked with a slight smile. Exactly, Jiwon agreed. Ambassador Da-Un addressed the council one final time before retirement. She was very old now, her movements slow, but her mind remained sharp. We entered this galaxy as prey. We became predators. Now we must learn to be partners. It will not be easy. It will not be quick. But it is the only path forward that leads anywhere worth going. 50 years after that speech, a young girl sat in school, learning about the Consolidation Wars. She had human and Velaran features. A child of the new mixed generation, she raised her hand. Teacher, were humans the good guys or the bad guys? Her teacher, an old veteran of those wars, considered the question carefully. He remembered Arcturus. He remembered Prometheus. He remembered everything. We were survivors who became conquerors. We took everything because everything was taken from us first. Whether that makes us good or bad, I will let you decide when you are older. The child looked out the window. Human ships patrolled alongside Valoran, Krill, and dozens of other species, all working together, all protecting the same space. Maybe, she said thoughtfully, they were just human. The teacher smiled sadly. Yes, just human. With all that means, the cruelty and the mercy, the hatred and the forgiveness, the mistakes and the wisdom learned from them. 18 months after Project Chains, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy peace. Humanity controlled the major trade routes, industrial centers, and military infrastructure. But beneath the surface, resentment festered like an infected wound. Director Yoon-ji Cho ran the Human Intelligence Network from a secure facility on Earth. Screens filled the walls of her command center, each one showing data from across the galaxy. She saw everything. Communications, movements, secret meetings. What she saw worried her. The resistance movements are growing, she told Admiral Young-soo during their morning briefing. Small groups at first, but they are connecting, coordinating. In 3 months, maybe 6, they will be ready to act. Young-soo studied the intelligence reports. Who leads them? A Velaran admiral named Thelmora. She survived Arcturus. A Krill war prince called Zikthak who lost his entire family in the surrender. And representatives from 37 other species. They call themselves the Liberation Front. Let them call themselves whatever they want, Young-soo said dismissively. Without quantum drives, they cannot threaten us. Sir, Yoon-ji said carefully, they are not the only problem. We have human sympathizers helping them. That got his attention. Explain. Yoon-ji pulled up another file. Dr. Yanwoo Bei, one of our xenobiology experts. He has been leaking information about our fleet movements and supply shipments. He is also helping the front smuggle weapons. Why? Young-Soo asked, genuinely confused. He believes we have become the monsters we fought against. Yoonji replied. He is not alone. About 5% of our personnel show signs of sympathizing with occupied populations. Young-Soo sat back in his chair. 5%. That is manageable. Watch them. If they act against humanity, arrest them. But do not create martyrs by moving too soon. In a hidden laboratory on a remote station, Dr. Yan-Woo worked with Liberation Front scientists. They were brilliant, these aliens. Together they had achieved something remarkable. It works, a Velaran scientist said excitedly. The quantum ignition device successfully restarted the test drive. Even with project chains active, we can restore quantum technology. Yan-Woo felt both pride and shame. Pride in the scientific achievement. Shame for betraying his own species. But he could not stand by and watch humanity become an empire of tyrants. Someone had to help these people. Someone had to prove that not all humans were conquerors. Agent Ji-Hoon Lee sat in the same room, pretending to be a human sympathizer. In reality, he was Yoonji's best undercover operative. He had infiltrated the Liberation Front 6 months ago and slowly worked his way into their inner circle. Now he learned their complete plan. The front would deploy quantum ignition devices across 50 star systems simultaneously. Each device would restore quantum drive capability in a specific region. Once their fleets could move again, they would strike at human military installations in a coordinated attack. The target date was symbolic. The 2-year anniversary of Project Chain's activation. Ji-Hoon sent an encrypted message to Director Yoonji. Within hours, the intelligence reached Admiral Young-Soo and Grand Admiral Hyun-Woo. A meeting was called. The most powerful people in human government gathered in a secure room to decide humanity's response. Ambassador Da-Woon spoke first. We should negotiate. Open discussions with the front. If we crush this uprising, we prove we are nothing but oppressors. We need to offer them a path forward. Representation, autonomy, a voice in their own governance. Admiral Young-Soo disagreed strongly. Show weakness now and every species will rise against us. We made hard choices to survive. Choices others forced us to make. We do not apologize for living. We crush this rebellion before it starts. General Taeyang stood between them as he often did. We won the war. But if we want to win the peace, we cannot rule by fear forever. That only works for so long. We need to be smarter. Grand Admiral Hyun-Woo listened to all sides. Finally, he spoke. We stop the uprising, but we do not stop there. We give them something they do not expect. What? Da-Yoon asked. Hope, Hyun-Woo replied. Major Sung-Ho Park commanded the special operations team assigned to stop the uprising. He was young for his rank, but his record spoke for itself. 30 successful missions without a single failure. Ji-Hoon provided detailed intelligence on every quantum ignition device location. Sung-Ho planned 50 simultaneous strikes. His teams would hit every target at exactly the same moment the front planned to activate them. The operation was called Sunlight. Because, Sung-Ho explained to his team leaders, we are bringing their plans into the light and burning them away. The anniversary arrived. Liberation Front members gathered at their designated locations, ready to activate the devices and strike back against humanity. They believed this day would mark the beginning of freedom. Instead, it marked their defeat. Human Special Forces teams appeared simultaneously across 50 star systems. They struck fast and precise. Doors were breached. Devices were seized or destroyed. Front members were arrested before they could react. The entire operation took less than 30 minutes. Admiral Thelmora was captured on a station near her homeworld. She stood in chains, watching human soldiers catalog the seized equipment. She had been so certain the plan would work. So sure that humanity could be defeated. War Prince Zikthak was arrested on a Krill colony ship. He expected execution. Instead, human soldiers treated him with professional courtesy. They gave him food and water. They did not torture him or mock him. He did not understand. Dr. Yan-Woo was the last to be arrested. He was working in his laboratory when Director Yoonji walked in with security personnel. He did not resist. I'm sorry, he told her. I could not stand by and watch us become everything we hate. I understand, Yoonji said quietly. I do not agree, but I understand. The galaxy expected mass executions. Harsh reprisals, the kind of brutal response that empires throughout history had used to crush rebellion. Instead, Grand Admiral Hyunwoo made a broadcast. He appeared on every screen in human-controlled space. Behind him stood representatives from dozens of species, including Admiral Thelmora and War Prince Zikthak, now freed from their chains. The Terran consolidation was born from betrayal and war, Hyunwoo said. We seized power because we had to, because the alternative was extinction, but holding power requires something different than taking it. Today I announce the formation of the Galactic Council. Across the galaxy, billions watched in disbelief. Every species under Terran oversight will have representation on this council. You will have voices. You will have rights. You will have the opportunity to prove that coexistence is possible. We are not asking you to love us. We are not even asking you to forgive us. We are asking you to work with us to build something better. He paused, letting that sink in. But make no mistake, human authority remains absolute. We control quantum technology. We control faster-than-light travel. We control the military. Cross certain lines and you will discover that mercy is a gift we give, not a weakness you can exploit. Work with us and we will work with you. Betray us again and there will be no third chances. The response was mixed. Some species embraced the council as a step toward equality. Others saw it as a facade, human control dressed up as democracy. But everyone recognized it as an opportunity. Admiral Thelmora accepted a position on the council as the Valoran representative. She would be the loyal opposition, ensuring humanity did not become the monsters they defeated. War Prince Zikthak also joined, representing Krill interests. He swore an oath to work within the system rather than against it. Dr. Hyunwoo faced a different fate. Instead of execution, he was assigned to the council as humanity's advocate for occupied species rights. His job would be to argue against human interests when necessary, to ensure fairness. Why? He asked Hyunwoo when the assignment was announced. I betrayed you. Yes, Hyunwoo agreed. But you betrayed us because you believed we were wrong. That means you have principles. The council needs people with principles, even if those principles make us uncomfortable. Director Yoonji continued hunting extremists on both sides. Human supremacists who wanted total domination, alien separatists who refused any compromise. She worked to eliminate threats before they could grow. The Galactic Council held its first session 3 months later. Representatives from 47 species gathered in a massive chamber on Earth. They argued. They negotiated. They slowly began building a framework for shared governance. It was not perfect. Human ships still patrolled the trade routes. Human governors still had final authority on occupied worlds. But it was a start. Ambassador Diane watched the first session with cautious optimism. Maybe, she said to Hyunwoo, we can actually build something lasting. Maybe, Hyunwoo agreed. But we will have to earn it. Every single day,